And we are now going to welcome Malcolm Larri to join us. He is Nordic's top pitch coach, and he is involved in several other things. I'll let Malcolm come in and talk about it himself. Malcolm, are you there? Let's get you on stage.
Great. Here I come. Hey.
Yes. Great to have you here. On the last session, we have had a huge, powerful, how would you say, a very, very powerful event since the morning. And this is going to be interesting. Yeah.
Fantastic. I mean, Chris's session, so much value there about being authentic and communicating that authenticity. Very hard act to follow, but I'll do my very best.
So why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself, and then the stage is yours, how you want to drive the session.
No problem. Let me jump straight into my presentation. I'll present myself as I go along. I think that's the best way to do it. And I would love to have a lot of interaction on the chat function. I'm going to try and keep my eye on the chat. So if you have any questions or comments as I go through today, I'd love to hear what they are. So let me just quickly share my screen and get my presentation up. Great. So if you can see my presentation, give me a thumbs up emoji and we'll rock and roll. Here we go.
Yes, this is visible.
Great, fantastic. So welcome to the art of pitching. This is an absolute passion of mine. I know it's the end of the day and you've had a lot of information and you're probably really inspired about your journey and where you think you can take your startup. And one of the things that I'm super passionate about is making sure people can communicate their value. And a few months ago, I was on LinkedIn and I saw this, this meme come up of Bill Gates saying, I just showed my plan to 1,200 people, 1,200 pitches, 900 said no, 300 showed some interest, 85 actually did something, and 35 of those were serious, and 11 made me a billionaire. So one of the things that I think is really fantastic about this is just to really understand that entrepreneurial life is a long pitch, because, as you move through, you're always going to be pitching somebody else about an idea, a pivot, an investment, a customer, a team member. And I really believe that pitching, it's not just about the pitch that's coming up for your investor community or an investor or some, expo that you're on. It's actually about the rest of your working life, because entrepreneurial life is a pitch. So how did I get here? How did I get to be this guy standing here at the end of the day talking to you about the art of pitching? Well, go back about 14,000 days, or basically 40 years ago, and I'm at home on a Saturday night in Sydney, and there's this TV show called The Golden Years of Hollywood, where they show these old black and white films. And I'm about 15 years old, something like that, and I start watching this film, and it's this film called The Fountainhead with the very handsome Gary Cooper. And, it's quite an interesting film to watch now because it's really about cancel culture. But in the film, there's a scene where an architect who's really bad comes and asks Howard Rourke, the main character, would you build a building for me and let me put my name on it? And Howard Rourke looks at him and says, why would I do that? And the protagonist, the terrible architect, says, because I want to help people. And then the main character, Howard Rourke, said something that blew my mind. He said, Peter, before you can do things for other people, you must become a person who can get things done. Boom, blew my 15-year-old mind. I'm sitting there thinking, how do I become a person who can get things done? And over the next 40 plus years of my professional working life, I have really worked on how do you get things done? And when I went out as a young man and I studied and I had mentors and I would follow around people who were really good at getting things done, the thing that I found, they were all amazing at pitching. They were all incredible communicators of value. So for me, this is an important skill for us to onboard. Now, my name is Malcolm Larri. I'm the founder of Brave Personal Development. I'm a leadership and culture consultant working with companies large and small, working with Ericsson, H&M, like big companies, right down to small startups. And I'm really proud to say that I work with around 100 startups a year as a pitch coach. And I lost count of how much the companies that I've pitch coached have raised. I know it's over $30 million US at this point. I haven't kept up with it for a while, but once you start being around entrepreneurs and their vision and their energy, you get really addicted to it. And so this is an area I love to work in. I'm originally from Sydney, Australia, but I was walking down the beach in Sydney and saw this beautiful blonde lady, and I started following her down the beach, and I followed her all the way back to Stockholm. She wanted me to. I just want to point that out. It was her idea as well. And we just celebrated 10 years of marriage. So really fun living in the Nordics and being part of this amazing ecosystem in Europe and Northern Europe, especially around startups. And my background is I'm an NLP master practitioner, Neuro-Linguistic programming. That means that I've studied how language affects how people perceive reality, and how by changing the language, you can actually change how they perceive what they're experiencing. So a background in linguistics. And all of this comes together to, influence my work as a leadership and culture consultant, a pitch coach, a coach for teams and individuals. And I'm having a great time doing it. So my question to you, and you can all jump on the chat. I want to make this a little bit interactive because I know that it's getting late in the day and you're getting tired. But hey, what is pitching? Jump on the chat and let me know. I would love to hear from you. What is pitching? Would love to hear it. Go for it. Pitching in business refers to presenting business ideas to another party. It's interactions, short presentations of our core concept, great answers coming up. To me, it's telling a story in a compelling way, sharing an idea so people can buy into them, communicating, selling your vision, how to be perceived, great answers coming in. Now, the question that I have for you, what is pitching? All of those answers are correct. But what you have to understand is that there's a very big difference between presenting an idea and pitching an idea. And if we want to present an idea to somebody, what I think is really important, when we're presenting an idea is, we're just sharing information. But once we get into pitching, it's a whole new ball game. Why? Because pitching is sharing an idea in a way that allows the listener to understand its value. That's number one. And the second part is a call to action. They want to take part in what you're offering. So pitching is sharing an idea in a way that allows the listener to understand its value and want to take part in what you're offering. Take a screenshot of this if you like, because I think if you really bring in these two pieces and understand that it's these two pieces that make it a pitch and not a presentation, you're going to be on the track to, pitching well and pitching successfully. So out there in the world, there's no gene or organ in the human animal for understanding the value of something. We only know the value of something because value is demonstrated and value is perceived. That's it. Now, when I was like 18 years old, I'm walking down the fashion street of Sydney called Oxford Street. I walk into a Levi's jean shop, and there's a shop there that's selling like great t-shirts, Levi's jean shop, $20 for a great t-shirt. I go down like 6 boutiques down, and it's like Hugo Boss or one of those big luxury brands, and they're selling a grey cotton t-shirt for $220, 11 times the value. So, and I said to the lady in the shop, do you sell $220 t-shirts? And she said, every day. Why? Because Hugo Boss has demonstrated that value and someone's willing to pay for it. And that's all that's happening in the marketplace all day long. We only know the value of something because we're showing the value. And this is, for me, where we jump into the first critical piece of you being able to pitch effectively. And this particular piece is what almost every startup that I work with is missing. And that is the value proposition. Now, I asked you before, what is what is pitching, but what's a value proposition? Jump in. What's a value proposition? I'd love to see what you say. Now, value proposition for me is, one of the most misunderstood concepts out there. I'll give you what I think it is, but I'd love to hear from you. The problem you're solving, says Amanda. Stephanie says the value you offer your potential clients and collaborators. Formulating the benefit that the receiver can get. Great, Anastasia. So Tivo says, going really fast, why people use the services. So there's a lot of it, the why of why you do it, a need that can be created, how you communicate, what you add to the market. Again, all good and perfect answers. But in the modern marketplace, if you don't know your value proposition and you can't articulate it clearly, your audience is not going to know it either. It is absolutely critical you know what your value proposition is. And just a quick question before I give you my definition of value proposition, and I'm sorry my voice is a bit tired, I've been hosting a conference all day, but what is the value proposition of your startup? What is your value proposition? You can jump in the chat and write a few of them down. I'd love to hear if you've actually stopped to really think about this. Because for me, the value proposition, it's the promise you make that you can never break. It's the promise you make that you can never break, that you're going to go to market with a promise that you make to your customers, you make to your buyers. And you can never break that promise because it is so central to your product, your service, what you're doing, that you wouldn't, if you broke it, you wouldn't be the same company. And again, I'm just going to jump on the chat. I'm just going to jump in and out of the chat because I think it's really interesting. Food fighters, sorry, that's our why. Organically farmed, high grade, non-GMO, right? So commercial excellence at every scale, fantastic. So all of these ones that I'm seeing here are really good, but they're quite wide. Now, why do I say wide? Because I think you should be able to tell us what your value proposition is in just 2 words. What's your value proposition in just 2 words? Because if I look at the most successful brands in the world, can pretty much get every brand down to 2 key words. And the reason I'm so passionate about value proposition is you can only pivot if you have something to pivot around. Otherwise, you're drifting. So you have to have a value proposition that acts like the sun. It's in the middle of your universe, and your products and services evolve around that value proposition. And you can iterate, change all those planets, swap them in and out for better ideas. But the value proposition, the core idea of the business, has to be like the sun. It's in the middle, it never moves, it shines bright. And sometimes when I'm working with startups, I see them putting all kinds of business ideas together that make no real sense. Like, we're going to do a beauty parlor that has also chainsaw repair, and every second Saturday it's a nightclub. It's like, what? What are you doing? That makes no sense. It's a really clear sign to me when people put random ideas together that they don't have a value proposition. Before I look at a couple of companies, I also just want to say it's really important that when you're pitching, you understand that you are going to be pitching. Sometimes the emotional buttons that you can press are pain and gain, right? The pain is when you're solving a problem for somebody, and gain is when you're giving the customer that elevates their happiness, their status, their well-being, their performance. So when we're pitching, we're going to pitch different people differently based on the emotional button that will actually move them into action. This is a deeper topic, but it's something for you to think about. You can't have one pitch for your customers, one pitch for your investors. Like, you have to stop and think about, what is the motivation for them to move? Is it going to be pain? They want to move away from something, or do they want to move towards something? So this is also something that we need to be thinking about when we're putting our pitches together. And I'll give you some examples of that later if I have time. But the first time I really became sort of aware of a value proposition, I was about 16 years old. I'm walking down the street of my hometown in Sydney, and I see this poster on a telegraph pole, and it says women's karate lessons $5. Never be afraid to walk down the street alone again. Fearless, become fearless for $5. What an incredible value proposition. So rather than saying learn to defend yourself, they were saying this is the value proposition. Become fearless. That's the value proposition inside of those words, right? 2 words. So if we look at the biggest companies in the world, and this is just my interpretation of these companies, I'm really happy if you have a different idea about it. But if we look at Tesla, for example, super successful company, really their 2 words of their value proposition is green and status, because you're the eco person, but you also get to drive a green status symbol. Airbnb, home anywhere. Apple, the first company to reach like the 3 trillion in value last year, I think it was, last December. But what have they done from the beginning? The promise they've kept, beautiful innovation. Now, if Apple came out with an ugly $99 phone next week and tried to sell like 1 billion of them, how do you feel people would respond to Apple making a really ugly $99 phone? Do you think the market would be happy about it, or would the market lose their mind? Nope, says naive, right? Why? The market would hate it. Stephanie, why would the market hate it? Why can't Apple make an ugly $99 phone, Stephanie? What is it that would, make them be so upset? Because for 30 years, they have promised and delivered, right? Nailed it, Stephanie. Promise broken. You promised us beautiful innovation. Now, how profitable is keeping your promises? Apple sells 15% of the mobile phones, but takes 85% of the money out of that market. And if you look at these other brands, Facebook, Amazon, Google Search, McDonald's, they all have a value proposition. If you really look at it and become a detective of value proposition, you can tell me what they're doing in 2 words. I mean, and this is what I encourage every startup to do. Tell me what you do in just 2 words, maximum 3. Because if you can't get it down that small, you haven't understood it properly yourself in most cases. And I've worked with, I don't even know how many startups, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. So basically commercial excellence at every scale, right? So inside that commercial excellence, what are you actually giving the customer that's even more important? Commercial excellence, what does that mean? So flight like a bird, sustainability by default, organically farmed cotton. So, organically farmed cotton could just be sustainable fashion. I don't know, I have to talk to you. But the really predictable scalability, right? Or profitable scalability, there's a great one. So care anytime, anywhere, right? So all of these, you work it out. Try and get down to just 2 words, maximum 3. Because once you understand that, so let's say Mohammed has enable flexible workplace. If Mohammed knows that, or Mahmoud, sorry, knows that that is the value proposition and really focuses on it, what could you serve the marketplace that would be even more powerful than that? Like, okay, we were thinking about doing this, but if this is actually our value proposition, why don't we do that? So borderless healthcare, says Sam. Powerful insights. Yep. And even look at the word, Max, look at the word powerful. Is it powerful or is it a profitable? Could be either. All right, monetizing creativity. Everyone's going, great. I love to see this chat on fire. So really think about your value proposition, because if once you get into your value proposition and become passionate about it, what you can do is then think about how does our value proposition set us free to create even better products. Now, Amazon, frictionless shopping. What was Jeff Bezos' gatekeeper rule for every change in the company? Does it make the customer's experience better? Does it make the shopping more frictionless? That's all Amazon's done. I've got a bookshelf full of unread books to prove that frictionless shopping at Amazon works. So really work on getting 2 words into your value proposition. It's just 2 words. I've only got for a little bit more with you. Time goes so quick, but one of the things I just want to say is that when you're pitching, the most important thing is that you have a structure of how to pitch anything to anyone, because you're going to be pitching all the time. And there is a type of selling called spin selling, and I've just adapted that, just call it spin pitching. I didn't invent it. It's been around for about 100 years. It's not new, but it looks like this. So when you're pitching, what is the current situation? So context matters. Your value, your ability to demonstrate value is only created by the fact that it's got a context that it exists in. The second letter of spin is P, which is for problem. And what is the problem created by the current situation? So you have a context that creates a problem, and then you get an implication. Implication just means the problem's problem. If you don't know that word, it's just that problem's problem. What will happen if the problem's not solved? And then you can start talking about your value proposition. So we need sustainable cotton. We need commercial excellence at that can scale. We need whatever it was you said. Monetizing creativity. That was another one that I saw. I think it was Anastasia. And then you can start talking about what you do and why you do it. And then you talk about the people who are doing it. So it's really important that once you talk about what you're doing, you talk about the team, because that really shows whether it's credible or not. And then you can talk about the process. We're currently at the MVP stage. You know, we're doing this beta testing, we're looking to go to market, Q3 2023, etc. So the whole thing looks like this. Again, feel free to take a screenshot. I want you to all walk away here with great ideas and great value for your time. But what I'd love you to do is just test me, because name a vegetable. Somebody jump on and name a vegetable. Carrots. Okay, carrots. Now name an industry for me. Somebody name it. Carrots. Somebody name an industry. Automotive. Great. I've got carrots, automotive. What is a problem in the automotive or imagined industry? Name a problem. Carbon footprint. Okay, carbon footprint. So we got carrots, automotive, carbon footprint. So let me just see. I'm just going to go back one. So the current situation is the automotive industry is trying to switch over to becoming an electrical vehicle manufacturer, all of them. The problem is that currently creating the batteries for electric vehicles is creating more emissions than the cars that they're trying to replace. And the implication is scaling up to battery-powered vehicles will become an environmental problem if we cannot lower the carbon footprint of creating the batteries that go in them. So we need some kind of sustainable and biologically organic way to make that happen, which is why Ludwig Widmark and I have created the carrot fiber filter company, which which allows companies that are making batteries to put in an organic carrot filter into their batteries, which allows the battery to excrete far less carbon during its first charge than any other product on the market. The people who are doing it is myself, Malcolm Larri, a battery expert, and Ludwig Widmark, who is a sustainable farmer from Uppsala. And the process is we're currently beta testing our carrot fiber filter with Tesla, Polestar, and Volvo. And we're really excited about the results we're getting. We already have 3 letters of intent signed by different manufacturers saying if we go to market, they will use our product. So with that, we'd love to have you invest, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so there you go. Just because it's a silly little pitch, I know, but just because I had a structure, I could make it up as I went along. And it made some kind of sense. Great. Like, again, who's investing? Come on. Carrot fiber battery filters. Who even, I didn't even know that was a thing until it came out of my brain. So somebody steal that and make it happen. But my point is that if you have a structure and you practice the structure, you will be able to pitch anything to anybody. And often people come to me for pitch coaching. They come in and they say, you know, been working on our pitch. And in about 10 minutes, you know, we can really nail down a really simple outline for a pitch. Now, what you should do is take a screenshot of this, like I said, and I want you to be able to pitch your product and service with just 2 sentences per category. Keep it really short. Why? Because if you can't say it in 90 seconds, you won't be able to say it in half an hour. You have to be able to pitch your business and its value in 90 seconds, and this is a great structure to do it. And the beautiful thing is that if you get a little short pitch like this, that is the perfect way to start a long investor pitch. You do a short 90-second pitch, and then you just tell them what you're going to tell them. You basically give them all the information, and then you can go into a much more detailed pitch. And because you've already told them the main pieces of what you do, why you do it, what happens if you don't, and who you are, when you give them all of that rich detail, they have all these frameworks set up in their head to hear and understand what you do. Now, I know time is running short, but I just want to give you a couple more pieces before I leave. If you do a short pitch and go into the long pitch, when you go into the longer pitch, start with a story. Tell it, use that situation, change the situation to a situation story so that you can really engage emotion. Now, the last piece that I want to talk about is most of the time when I see when people come to me and they show me their pitch deck, the first deck that I see, or the first slide that I see, often has like a nice little tagline like this that tells me nothing about what they're doing. It tells me nothing about their value proposition or their service. So let's say I had a startup and it's called Malkify, and I just write making the world a better place. Now, the first slide is usually the slide that's up on screen longest, especially when you're introducing yourself, saying hello, shaking hands, etc., at an investor session. But why wouldn't you tell them everything they need to know about your business in a sentence like this instead? Malkify, B2B money transfers enabled by blockchain. How much more information have I just given the audience in one sentence about what they're about to hear about? So everything I tell them makes more sense. Now, I'm running out of time, and I would love, love, love to have an opportunity at some point to work with you all. So please, if at some point you really want to master the art of pitching and really have your pitch at a world-class level, then please reach out. But in the meanwhile, I want to encourage you to practice. When I was learning all of this, I had a laminated sheet in my shower of a structure of a pitch, and I had it laminated and inside the shower. And every day when I took a shower, I would just make up businesses and try and pitch them. And hey, you know, you take a shower, you practice your pitch, you get smarter and hygienically clean. That's good entrepreneurship right there. So please keep practicing. By the way, if you have a day job and you need to present an idea, it's exactly the same structure. Every professional person needs to know how to pitch, and every entrepreneur needs to be a master of the pitch. So with that, I would just like to say thank you so much. An absolute honor to be with you and share this information. Really happy to, if you reach out to me on LinkedIn, if you would like to connect with me, follow me on Instagram at Brave Coach, see my travels. I'm having a great time being me and a great time being in Sweden with my beautiful wife. So thank you everyone for a great session. Namul, I would love to hand back over to you. Really great interaction from the audience today. So big thanks to them, Tivo and Anastasia and everybody who is jumping on and interacting with me. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Malcolm. What a lovely presentation. The way I got hooked into that slide of yours, like beautiful innovation, Apple, like that level of simplicity. Like
that level of simplicity is freedom.
Yes.
But once you have that clarity, you know, there's an old expression, clarity is power. And when you have that clarity that this is what our business does, this is what our startup does, we create commercial excellence at scale, or whatever it is, all of the products and services you can put around that, and a whole universe of possibilities, right?
Yes, exactly. Malcolm, thank you so much for taking time out and being here. I would ask the production team if they can put your LinkedIn profile here so that people can connect with you.
Fantastic.
And what a great and powerful session. Thank you so much, and we'll stay connected. More events coming up. I'll stay in touch with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And with this.